It's not about motivation. Winners need discipline. Wake up and win today. Discipline comes from within.
Boxing King Media in association with the Riyadh season. Dave Coldwell, Frank Smith. I thought we'd do something a bit different because I'm hoping that you're both going to disagree on some things that we're going to talk about.
You wanted two bald men.
In good shape.
Yeah, in great shape. Great shape. Sorry.
Let's get your initial reaction to the weigh-in. Both men look physically unbelievable, almost as good as you guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, I watched it out there. I was on a phone call, so I watched it on YouTube. But yeah, they look unbelievable. Specimens, aren't they? The two of them.
Yeah, they're what you want professional athletes to look like. The thing is with heavyweight division is because we're that used to seeing heavyweights, because they're heavyweights, they don't have to make a certain weight. So a lot of them come in not in the best condition, or just simply in good nick, but not in absolute pinnacle of condition. These two. But AJ, we're used to that because he's always in good nick. But
I think as well, everyone's saying Ngannou's massive. He is massive, but actually when you put the two of them together with their tops off, they look. I was going to finish that sentence, but you gave me a funny look, like when I said with their tops. But with their tops off, they look, both are huge. But Francis is obviously big old guy, big old neck.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know if it's because it's the first
16-inch neck he's got.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I've got a 16-inch neck, so it might
be
a
bit
bigger.
Different. I think because it's the first time I've seen him, and because of all the hype about how big Ngannou is, and he's huge. Because now, the first time I've seen them, they're together. All the build-up. I think I'd forgotten how big AJ is. So then, when they stood next to each other, I didn't quite feel as though he was that much bigger than Joshua. Yeah, he's thicker set, but I was expecting, because everyone kept saying to him, wait till you see him about Ngannou. So you build something up, and then it's like, oh, all right, don't get me wrong, unbelievable, but it wasn't as big as what I thought. I thought there was going to be a big difference in size, and it's not as big as what I thought it was.
A lot of people are giving Ngannou very little chance, but there's always a small minority who are saying he's going to do it by knockout. What percentages are we looking at, both of you?
Look, a lot of people gave Ngannou very little chance of standing in there with Tyson Fury, especially going 10 rounds and knocking him down. And, arguably, many people believe he won the fight. But I personally think it was very close, and I think Fury actually won. But I think it was more the perception. No one really thought he had any chance whatsoever in that fight. So you sort of scored it maybe a bit more towards him. But look, it's heavyweight boxing. He's a huge lump, and he's going to get in there and he's going to throw bombs like he did against Tyson Fury. And any of these guys, if they all catch each other, can all hurt each other. When you're that big, that's the reality of it. But I think AJ's you're going to see a spectacular performance from him and a big win. But that's why we love it. That's why people tune in, because there's always that intrigue there. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, I spoke to Dave yesterday. I was asking him about comments that Carl Froch was making about, the whole mental side, and Carl's quite clever with stuff that he brings out close to fight weeks because he gets us all talking about it. But do you think there's any mental weakness in any aspect of Anthony Joshua's game?
Me?
Yeah.
No, look, I think people have an opinion on every single thing that Anthony Joshua does throughout his career, and the reality is you're not always going to have the best night every night of your career. That's the truth of it in high level sport, especially in boxing where you fight once every 3 months. Yeah, and I think he's in a great place. I think mentally he's in a brilliant place. I think he's training unbelievably. That's why he's in such good shape as always. And I think the momentum of keeping active, his fourth fight in 11 months, is going to be beneficial for him. And I think you're going to continue to see improvement. So look, Carl Froch is a funny bloke. He makes me laugh. He comes out with a lot of stuff. He doesn't like AJ. Well, you could say he doesn't like her. I'm not sure whether he's actually said that, but with the things he says, you can tell there's something there. But look, everyone can have a view on people's mental state of mind. He's going in there to have a fight. Of course, there's going to be pressure on your mind. That's what it is. You wouldn't be human if you didn't have a bit of pressure on your mind. And Ngannou will have the same as well. I suppose there's less pressure on Ngannou to deliver than there is Anthony Joshua. But yeah, I think he's in an amazing place, and I think you're going to see a great performance.
Bring you in here, Dave. Obviously, you're working for Sky this week, but as a pundit, and obviously you worked with Matchroom before on The Zone, and a lot of people debate that people like Carl Froch don't get TV gigs because they're too too brutally honest for their own good. Is it ever any aspect of that? Does Frank ever tell you to, like, you know, just boost up my guy or anything like that? Just correct that opinion out there for us.
Oh, I've never been asked to say this or say that. None of us have. You know, that's people's perceptions, because the problem is we all have opinions, like you said, and we're all entitled to his opinions. And so what you'll get is the people that agree with the opinion, I'll think you're telling truth, you're talking from your heart, and that's how it is. The people that have a different opinion think there's something sinister behind it, think that you're only saying it because he's your mate, saying it because you've got fighters with that stable, whatever, or you're working on that network. No, it's an opinion. You know what I mean? I can only speak for myself, but I will give my opinion on what I think. The problem is sometimes I'll see it from both sides, and then people will clip something and they'll just say the one thing and not my reasoning behind it, you know, and it just creates clicks, creates views, and that's what we're in. We're in a view and numbers generated world, and if everybody's got a bland opinion, then there's nothing sinister you can make out of it. But whereas if you got something that's, oh, he said this, he said that, then you can kick off a little bit. So I understand it from their point of view, but you've got to see where it's coming from as well.
Agree with that, Frank?
Yeah, look, it's not like we don't have. We do our own production on our shows now in all across the world. We don't go up to the commentators and say this about this one, or look, that's why we hire them, because they're the best at what they do. You know, people can have a view as to whether someone's impartial. Look, sometimes I think if someone's got a relationship with someone, it can be.
Yeah.
It's a different. It can change things. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But it's never led by a promoter to say this is the way you should position it in this fight. And that's not what we do. And these guys have all got their own careers to think about, rather than just making one promoter happy, for example, and saying the right thing. You know.
And also from my point of view, I can't speak for anybody else. From my point of view, I don't have a contract or a deal with Matchroom with any of the promoters. You know, I've never had a fighter given to me from Matchroom. It's like my fighters have got the deals with Matchroom, and whether they stay with me or they move on, it's their deal with Matchroom. So whether I praise them or not makes no difference. There's things that Matchroom they'll put a fight together that I don't think is very good, and I'll say it's not very good. If I'm asked about it, I'm not going to come out and say it, because that's where you've got a relationship with them. You don't, if you're friends with people, you don't just go out and shit on them just for the sake of it. But if somebody asks me your opinion, then I'll say what I think. And it's like, I'll go to them with a fighter and say, oh, you know, I think he's really good, you want to sign it, blah, blah, blah. They can't do it. That's what they think. It doesn't mean either of us are wrong. It just means that on that subject, you don't have the same opinions. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same in everything.
Let's see if I can get you to agree or disagree. I've just been watching some comments online. We're seeing Conor, BENN and Manny Pacquiao face off. I'm just flicked through some Twitter comments. Some were saying why have they gone on stage. Some were saying why they're fighting each other. Obviously, very few are saying it's a good fight to make. So, Frank, you tell us why it's the right fight for Conor and BENN, because Eddie's saying it's happening next.
Look, I think it's a huge commercial fight, and that's part of the business we're in. Manny Pacquiao is one of the biggest names in boxing of the last 20 odd years. You know, Conor BENN wants big fights. He wants huge commercial fights. Conor BENN sells fights. Manny Pacquiao sells fights, and that's a big part of the business we're in. You know, and
how do you explain that to the hardcore fans? Because, like, I get it, because obviously I'm involved in the boxing business. Commercially, it makes sense. Just like we've seen Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight each other, it's the same sort of thing. But how do you sell that to somebody who's just a hardcore fan and just sees Manny as like this legend?
Well, look, it's different markets as well, isn't it? You know, it's hard to say, because if we were just to rely on in the sport the hardcore fans, the sport wouldn't be where it is. That's the harsh reality of any sport, not just boxing.
That's what people got to understand. Yeah. Boxing fans, actual fans that go to shows and spend money on tickets, it's a small amount. So you have got to, but this is where we disagree, because with the certain fight
as well.
But I understand the business side of boxing. But as a fan, my personal opinions of a fan, then these are the kind of fights that I'm not interested in. Don't get me wrong, the razzmatazz and the hype and everything, you'll want to see it, even if you don't want it. You know, I'll be honest with you. For me, Pacquiao should be retired. Is a legend of sport. For me, if you're Conor BENN and you're shouting about your best welterweight in the world and stuff like that, from a boxing point of view, I'm like, fucking go and chase Ennis and people like that, all the top fighters, right? Don't call out everybody that's 103 years old. But from a profile point of view and a business point of view and that point of view, I totally understand it. So I get why it's being made. So I get why they're doing it. I understand. So I'm not going to be all singing and dancing about how disgusting it is and all a load of bullshit it is and all that. Just my opinion is, I don't want to see it. It's like when Roy Jones got done and then he got beat in a rematch with Tarver. I was like, this ain't Roy Jones anymore. I don't want to watch it anymore. Pacquiao, I think after he got done by Marquez bad, I don't think I watched another one of his fights again. I like to remember my legends for what they are. This with Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, I'm like, fucking hell, right? So that's just my opinion.
Who wins that though?
I hope to shit Tyson's got enough in locker to smash him to bits.
How scary is it though that we were sitting here saying who wins out of Mike Tyson and Jake Paul?
Surely it's not a real fight.
I actually don't know who wins. But the other thing I was going to say is, the reality is as well with fights like this, like huge commercial fights, is that grows the sport.
Yeah.
Actually, so that brings more fans into the sport of boxing that everyone loves. So that then allows us to make other fights that everyone loves. Now look, Josh Taylor, Jack Casherall, that is a fight, for example, that's big, very big, but boxing fans love it. For example, it's not going to reach the casual audience that maybe some other fights would reach, but boxing fans sit there and go, that's amazing. If we can make these huge fights that are commercially successful and make sense, it's only going to benefit the sport in the long term. So you're never going to please everyone, and it's maybe we put a great undercard on that everyone's happy with 8 boxing fans fights, which are unbelievable fights where everyone's going, I like that. But certain people aren't all going to be into it. I accept that, but that's the business we're in. Some people would say about this, or would say about the Fury when Fury fought NGANNOU. You're willing. You can have that opinion. You don't have to. And like that's the honest bit is like it's a choice to watch it and say, but it's not detrimental for the sport you love, because it brings more fans into the sport you love, which in turn grows the ecosystem of the sport, and then makes bigger, better fights throughout.
The point Dave made at the start, do you think the issue is because obviously Eddie mainly, to be fair, has name dropped all these big, Terence Crawford, Jaron Ennis, Eubank, obviously a lot of big name current fighters that are obviously in their prime, and obviously because it's packaged, do you reckon that's what's going to cause the backlash? Because ultimately Manny, we haven't obviously seen him fight for a few years, so we don't know how good he is. He still looks like he's in shape. He hasn't put loads of weight on.
Looks old. Looks old.
I think he looks the same.
He looks old.
Yeah, I think he looks the same. Throws punches.
You don't age.
Yeah. Neither does Dave. Dave's looked the same for the last 12 years I've known him.
Other thing, news just come out. Dillian White, I don't know if you know this, apparently he's back in the ring on March 17th against Christian Hammer, fighting at the TF Royal Hotel in Castlebar, Ireland. Do you know anything about that?
No. I might go there.
Anything to do with Matchroom?
No. I've never been to Castlebar in Ireland, but first I've heard of it.
Just reporting on Boxing Scene apparently. Last thing, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, you touched on it there. It's not a real fight, is it? I don't know if you guys know anything.
I hope not.
What do you mean, like an exhibition? Or I guess it would be an exhibition. But it's still the same, isn't it? Let's get into the deep. Like it's the same thing. Exhibition profile. All it means is that someone's licensed it. It will all be the same. They'll both wear the same gloves. They'll both go in there with no head guard on. They'll both fight X minute round. Like it's all the same.
And again, from a promoting point of view, I understand it. I understand. Jake Paul's cracked it. Absolutely unbelievable what he's doing. I get what he's doing for him. But it's like you can't tell people you're going to be world champion and doing all this and going to be a real fighter, and then keep fighting people that aren't real fighters, and then the real fighter that you want to fight is 58 years old. It broke my heart when Tyson lost against Kevin McBride. To see if it was a fight and if he did beat Jake Paul, mate. So I've got no interest in that. That's my opinion.
Good, interesting thoughts. Do you reckon we could get like an angry face off or something, so I could use it as a thumbnail?
We're too good of friends.
Yeah.
We like each other too much.
I was going to title it, Dave Coldwell and Frank Smith disagree over whatever.
Dave Coldwell roast Frank Smith.
Something like that, yeah.
Troublemaker.
Thank you.
I got a question for you. Where can discipline take you? Discipline points you
Who would you go with?